Hi, everybody. So, two videos in 1 week. How about that? I came home. I forgot my phone today. I am embarrassed to admit, but I was almost freaking out because, like, what do you do without a phone these days? So, anyhow, I had to come home largely because I couldn't get into my courses without my phone. That's how I authenticate to get in. But anyhow, I finished reading and scoring week 4. I think week 4 is week 4 is what I finished. Right. Um, anyhow, wow, what a week. So I have to tell you, I was tracking how much I put into each week, but somehow I didn't make the connection that this was such a heavy week. So obviously, I'll be rethinking this next time around because it is a bit intense. So I apologize for that. Let me just kind of give you some recap on this. This past week we learned about authentic, servant, and adaptive leadership. Very powerful models. Again, I think a lot of them have resulted from probably less than positive circumstances due to the lack of authenticity, the lack of servant leadership, and inadaptive people. But you can see just from the titles where demands on leadership are going. They're powerful. Again, I don't know anybody who would say, "Yes, I'm an authentic leader." That's the only principle I follow. But I think that there's some really important tidbits that you can take out of this as you consider the type of leader that you want to do or be. Sorry about that. Anyhow, some really impressive comments that I tried to respond back to as I was reading. I hope that I hope the comments were helpful. Into some of the development exercises. The values detective exercise. I've never used that before. It's from a book that I have around here someplace. I think I referenced it in the course, but by Bonnie St. John. So if you're looking for a light read in between terms, it's a really good book. And she talks about the importance of understanding self and your passions and what you value, and how that provides us direction as to what direction we take our career. I think it's a really good read. I participated in an exercise of a couple summers ago. It was a workshop around uncovering passions, and at the time, it wasn't so much that I lost my direction, but I just kind of lost my steam. Some of the things that happened at work, I don't know. I think I became a little disenchanted with where things were going, and so I just thought it would be worthwhile to pursue this. So I took this workshop. One of the women running it was the head of a Head Start program, which I'm assuming you understand what Head Start is, and the other one owned her own company. And I remember I just shared this little thing that she shared that she said when kids were little in the very developmental stages, like up until probably preschool age, you don't talk to them about passion. I mean, they're like all about passion. If they want something, they pursue it. They don't sit and say, I really want to go out and play with, Billy, but I think I'll clean my room because I'm passionate. I mean, you just don't find kids operating that way. They're very connected with who they are and what they want. From that time period on, we become kind of inundated with what appropriate behaviors are, what appropriate work is. We get into these companies and we become part of the machine. So it may not be terribly negative, but we become part of this larger machine, and we end up becoming rule followers and policy holders and Um, we kind of get into playing the game instead of, and in the process of that, we lose sight with from what is the game about to me. Um, then what happens is that you end up doing this, playing this game for 25, 30 years. And let's say you go through a layoff or you're promoted or you're demoted or whatever, but some big change comes and happens to you. And before you know it, your defined world is totally shooken up. And you're like, well, what the heck? I don't know who I am these days because I was all about being an employee at this place. This was my position. This is what I do. Instead of really being connected to the larger purpose and passion of who you are. So this workshop was all designed to help us reconnect with not necessarily the profession or even the setting or the company, but really what are we about? Why am I here? And I'm telling you, it was kind of remarkable, but it was a powerful exercise. It was much more developed than this values detection, but I thought this might be just a more simple exercise, more quick exercise for you to kind of start to think about those kind of things. As a result of that, I really opened myself up to doing a job search at the time, and that's how I ended up at RIT when I found out that I have a passion towards health systems administration, and specifically, if you can't tell, specifically in the area of leadership development. So I just think that so much of management training and what we call leadership training is really management training. And I've been trained as a manager. I've got like 3 degrees in management. So it's not that I think that it's not worthwhile or good. But there's not a lot in formal education to actually develop the leader of a person. So, excuse me. So that's why I've kind of redeveloped this course, and with some changes that I'm hoping the state of New York will approve, I'm hoping to kind of redesign this whole program, or at least pieces of it, to really kind of help students grow in that area. So anyhow, that's why I put that exercise there. So some of you, I think, had some really some strong moments, perhaps pivotal. Others of you, I don't think, engaged in it fully, which was a little disappointing. But I do know that part of that was probably because of the volume of the work. So I'm definitely going to put that, take that into consideration next time around. So the next exercise was candid feedback, and I love Sherry Harley. I just find her hysterical. So you got to have a little bit of fun in life. So I thought I would just throw in one of her videos. On the other hand, it was very practical advice, and from an F's perspective. So again, my type is impact on people. I'm an F. Being candid with people is brutally hard for me. I am massively concerned with hurting people's feelings. So for others of you, you are a little too candid, and you talked quite a bit in your papers and work about the impact of that and how it has either positive or negatively impacted you. So the key, again, and going back to some earlier or last week's content, is to blend those two. So it's considering how to be candid. And again, it is important to be candid. So, I mean, I can be super nice to all the people that ever work with and for me. But if I stunt their growth or stunt their development by not having the strength or courage to approach them with things that are impacting their career, then shame on me. So I have had to learn how to do it. And what I do is I kind of channel that T in me, and I think this feedback is going to make you better. And my goal as someone who's responsible for your growth, through many of the principles we read about in these chapters this week, is to provide you good feedback. So, but I try to do it in a gentle way, but still, not lose it because I'm being so wishy-washy about it. I've had to learn how to kind of balance that. So anyhow, but it's a struggle. And then for those of you that have more T preferences, it's a struggle to learn how to cushion the news a bit, support the person as you're giving it, provide resources. Sometimes when you're too blunt, the message is not heard because the person immediately throws up these defense mechanisms and doesn't even hear what you have to say. So again, the gift is to be able, and I think Sherry does that if you follow her model closely, gives you the tools to be able to go in there. One person did mention the role of nonverbal skills, and I do think that is something that is worth talking about at some point in time. So anyhow, I just thought I'd comment on that. So the final discussion board was managing change and transitions. Again, I'm sharing with you all of the stuff that I've learned over the years that has just been pivotal for me. And this understanding of the differences between change and transitions was pivotal. So I mean, again, I've been through lots of management training, and I can manage change like nobody's business. I'm actually kind of a change junkie. I like change. I view change for the most part as a change for the better. So I'm always trying to perfect, make better, grow, develop, blah, 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 blah. So I for the most part, like change. But I never understood why some people are resistant to change. And in every advisory board meeting that I've run in the last 14 years for running these programs, executives talk over and over and over again about the importance of students coming out of this program learning how to manage change and help people accept change, engage in the change, and lead the change. So because there's a lot of change in healthcare right now, and there's a lot of people who are, as you can see from the transition model, are threatened by it. So we as leaders need to learn how to frame change so that they can better adapt to it. And then understanding that transition model, we can help people through that. So again, the more and more I learn about leadership, it sounds like almost a psychology degree, which, it sort of kind of is. Management stems from, psychology, sociology, it's multidisciplinary. So that's why it's so flippin' complicated. So anyhow, understanding Bridges transition has helped me a great deal personally and professionally, trying to help people navigate change. And I don't care what your degrees are, or how smart you are, or even what your psychological type is. Everyone struggles with transition. So even good transitions are tough. So I would definitely suggest that you hold that model in your little back pocket. I do hope to send out, I think, no, that was a Dropbox. So I think I did ask Marilyn's permission to send out her work on this because it's very relevant to the class, because she talks about a merger that her facility went through. I was extremely impressed to find out that their leadership team actually read Bridges' book. So really worked hard to manage not just the change, but the transition so that everyone can work through this transition. Next time, I will add a question to this exercise that ask students to expand, to compare the two theories and to reflect on insights gained. So I was very curious, and I'd say maybe a third of you addressed that you could see that difference, but the rest of you didn't. And like the whole point of the exercise is I wanted to see, are you getting this? But so anyhow, I hope you got it. So weekly reflections were good. I'd say maybe about half of you didn't really do the whole thing. Then I went in and looked at the taking your pulse, I think is what I called it, the survey. And I quickly learned why. Not that it was a huge surprise, but you were exhausted and you felt like you had reflected to the point where you were nauseous. So you couldn't really do the weekly reflection because it was like all the words were gone. So which I love words, and that does happen to me too. So two things. One, I want you to know that there's only 7 discussion questions and 3 discussion boards left for the whole class. So you did that last week. And now the next 3 weeks, you have the equivalent of 1 week for the rest of the class. So we've definitely hit that high peak, and now we're on our way back down. So I hope you can breathe, and again, next time around, I'll just kind of try to balance this out a little bit more. However, I appreciate all your feedback on how to make this better, but I do want to use some of this to help you. So what I have thought I would do is I'm going to remove the weekly reflections for week 5 and 6. So the one due this upcoming Sunday, which is the 30th, September 30th. So that week 5 is due then, and week 6 is due in the following Sunday. You do not need to submit the weekly reflection, any of the content in the weekly reflection Dropbox. So, however, I would like you to do it for week 7 and then try to incorporate anything that you've experienced in week 5 and 6 into that final Dropbox reflection. So, and then after that, there's no final assignment. So, in the past, I've had a final paper, but I've gotten rid of that so that I could add all this other stuff that you're doing during the week. So, I hope that it was a good decision. So, I can't tell you what the exercise was I had you, the final exercise that I've done in the leadership course for like a long time, is to have you identify someone that you believe is an outstanding leader and to interview them. Then you developed a list of questions based on your experience in the class, and then you went out and interviewed the leader and kind of worked to validate your own understanding of leadership. So I would encourage you to do that. It's a really cool experience, and it's a really outstanding excuse to talk to a leader. So, but anyhow, so just an idea if you want to, but it's not required for this class. So, anyhow, so that's it. So for week 5 and 6, I will award everyone 10 points. So if you want to do it, I mean, knock yourself out, but you'll just receive 10 points. You don't have to do it. So in this is designed to, acknowledge that you are doing a lot of reflection in just the discussion boards and Dropboxes. So adding more probably isn't necessary. And then just to acknowledge your hard work in the class so far. So I've been incredibly impressed. So I thank you. Again, if there's anything I can do, just scream. I'm around. So I will be around until the end of the class. The weekend right before the end, I will be going out of town just like for 2 days, but I'll have my phone and laptop with me, so I'll be able to respond to emails. So nothing earth-shaking coming. So anyhow, have a great weekend. Enjoy the lighter load. And I think some of the topics coming up are really very, very contemporary. So I think you'll kind of enjoy those. And I'll talk to you soon. Okay, have a good evening. Bye.